bigbubble.uk. Real radio.
Well, today I'm in the Marlowe Theatre over in Canterbury. It's the first time I've been in the theatre for 18 months. And there, on the stage, is the man from the room next door. It's that man who made us all laugh. The man who was on the internet, the sensation who was on the internet, and made the pandemic just a little bit easier for us all. And to put these bunch of rogues, as we call our government, someone's calling to order. Hello, Michael Spicer.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fantastic. That was a great show. I've never seen a show like that before, where you split it, you came as different characters, and you gave us a feel of what you'd done before.
Yeah.
So first of all, you didn't just come out of nowhere. You're not the man from nowhere. You've been around a long while.
Yes, I have.
And obviously in the show you talked about that, where you started, and it wasn't you who was getting the acclaim, it was what you were saying.
Yes.
Now you are getting the acclaim. And you've been to America. How was that?
America?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
You have. You've been on the Late Show.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you know what? I haven't. I tell you, this is what's weird about it, is that I've never been. I've never met James Corden. I've never met the producers. I never went to the studio, and I didn't do any of that. He basically DM'd me. He said, do you want to keep doing what you're doing? And I'll put it on the Late Late Show. So that was it, really. It was. I did it. Occasionally I'd run it past their writers to make sure it was still funny, and then he just put it out on his show. It was the most effortless thing I've ever experienced. I just did it and it was out. And what's surreal about it is that at that point we were still properly in lockdown. So I was only really allowed to leave the house to buy eggs and stuff, and yet I was on the Late Late Show on a regular basis. So I've never actually been to LA, but frankly, the weird thing about that is that it was all happening on my devices. It was happening on my laptop, on my phone. It wasn't anything that was actually tangible. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a very strange experience, but wonderful.
So it's the same experience that we've sort of had here at Big Bubble, setting this up, because we're all remote. And we speak to people all over the world, musicians and actors all over the world, just through their laptop, a microphone and headphones. So talking to someone real, this is one of the first real interviews we've done, isn't it, really, having someone in the room.
Yeah.
But back to you, Radio 4.
Yes.
And that's repeated tonight, isn't it?
It's the premiere tonight. The pilot was that went out last year, and after the pilot, Radio 4 kindly gave us 4 episodes. So that's a new series tonight. I
did see your lovely little video that you made, the budget video.
The budget video.
Before you picked the kids up.
Yeah.
That was.
That was. There's a hint of truth in that, because it is supposed to be reflective of basically what my life is like, or what it was at that time, which was dealing with this attention, but not knowing how to monetize it, and therefore having to continue working full time and looking after my children. And of course, my wife Roberta is my virtually my partner in a comedy duo in the series. So yeah.
And then television.
Well, there's been a lot of pitching. I mean, there's been nothing concrete, but I would love to expand his universe and put him in an environment whereby you find out more about the organisation he works for and his associates and that sort of thing. It's ongoing, let's say that.
It's just that the people I know in the business, when I said I was coming to interview you, they went, that guy's got it. And I noticed that in some of your press blurb, you do quote one of our favourite comedians, Richard Herring. He quotes it, says, genius.
Yes.
And that's rich. That is rich praise coming from someone like Richard.
Yeah, I did the comedy podcast with him, and he was extremely thorough, and he really does know what he's talking about in terms of...
Yeah, because that's another thing. You've got the podcast as well. You've built a body of work that, like I say, you just haven't turned up out of the blue.
No.
You've got a lot of stuff out there,
Yes.
including the book as well, which you gave a nice little plug for today.
Oh, thank you.
And did you do any signed copies after the show?
There was a hint of that, but there was a lot of "I haven't got a pen, have you got a pen" situation, which then resulted in me signing no copies at all. But apart from that, it was a massive success.
Who's your favourite comedian? Where do you get your inspiration from?
Oh, I've got so many comedy heroes because it really is something I was, that I absorbed when I was like, I don't know, 4, 5, watching, Laurel and Hardy films back in the day when the BBC had them all and plugged up the gaps with their 20-minute, with their 2-reelers,
yes,
as they're called. They would pop up in the most bizarre points in the BBC schedule because they hadn't had time to film. They didn't realise that, lots and lots of children like me were watching them and being inspired by them. But as I got older, the BBC repeated Monty Python when I was 10, which is incredibly lucky, really, because that was just, I was a child of the 80s, and so I wouldn't have seen it when it first came out. But when it was repeated in the 80s, I lived and breathed it, and I had this notion that when I was 10 that I would become a comedian and reunite them. And then we'd do new series together. And then in the 90s, I guess people like Chris Morris and Armando Iannucci, hugely influential and very funny. And there's a difference there. You can watch something and enjoy it and laugh and move on, but with people like Chris Morris, there's that, he sparked something in me that made me want to do something next, to start writing. So there's only a few comedians that have actually got that these days. But across the board, I've got so many comedy heroes. Yeah.
But you've brought back something that was missing, and we've myself and Matthew at the station have talked about this a lot. That there was a missing of real political comedy. It sort of went after Spitting Image. It just sort of seemed to have died, and no one would have a go. No one would, what you've done, and other comedians like Jonathan Pye will really rip into them. And I think what you do, you're one of the only people, more than the opposition, you are holding the government to account. You literally are, with the stuff you've done on Hancock.
Yeah.
Which was amazing, because as you said in the show tonight, which was a phenomenal piece in the show, when you just went, they are, to quote you, like sports centre managers, they are, they are that, and of that intellect as well.
Yes,
and
indeed.
And you put, and like you said, they put Matt Hancock in charge of the biggest pandemic. That was a lovely piece of writing.
Thank you. I mean, that does the 90s, sort of 90. Well, basically when Tony Blair and New Labour arrived, there felt that sort of. There was that desire to hold back and let them get on with it from comedians and satirists. But I remember Armando Iannucci kind of still occasionally prodding and making sure that they weren't failing. But yes, it was fairly barren. And then by the time Cameron and Clegg, if you can remember him,
that was a combo, wasn't it?
Yeah, quite a combo. When they came back, it felt like there should be more comedians holding them to account, but it never really happened. And I think that is also because networks and production companies are scared of doing political sketch comedy, and social media, with its online sketch writers and sketch performers like me, who just produce rather than submit to the BBC or ITV or whoever anymore. That doesn't happen anymore. They just go, oh, well, this is really good. I'll write it down and perform it myself. And there's your instant audience. So for one reason or another, that the political satire is just kind of fragmented. But there are a lot of us now. And, I have to say, it was purely by accident. I mean, when you see a man with headphones on, sitting on his sofa, ranting at the telly, that's all of us, isn't it? So I was just another one of them. I was just trying to convey it, really.
which you've done very well.
Thank you.
Now the tour has a little break now, I think.
Yeah, it does.
And
Until
then-
September.
And then you're back in Kent again
Yes, back in Kent at the end.
at Margate, I think.
Margate and Revelation Ashford in December.
So good for us to get you back.
Yes,
And,
yes.
We'll have a chat with you again and see how it's all going there.
Yeah,
because
please
although we are a worldwide radio station, we are based in Whitstable.
Oh, okay.
Out on the coast there, because that's where most of the musicians and writers
Of course.
live.
Yeah.
We've got one. We have more international drummers than anywhere else in the world. You know, it's like a London bus situation. You get
Right.
one come in,
Yeah.
and then you go, "Oh, did you know that John Lennon's drummer's just moved into
Right.
town?" Then the guy goes, "Well, does he live near Madonna's drummer? Because
Yeah.
he's just moved into
Right,
town."
right.
And it literally is like that. So we just want to get music and theatres full again. And that's
Sure.
part of our remit to get, if you like, put ourselves out of work.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Because what we want is we want to do what we did tonight. We want to be able to come to the theatres again and see fresh acts. Thank you so much for talking to us,
No worries.
Big Bubble.
Pleasure.
Do tune in.
Thank you.
We come bearing gifts.
I love
We
it.
just set up a thing called Catch Up live on Mixcloud,
okay.
and then to be a
Gifts.
proper DJ.
Fantastic.
To proper DJs, because we take the mick out of the BBC and FM radio, particularly things like Steve Coogan's Oven Partridge.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got your own Big Bubble mug,
Brilliant.
which is from the Weirdstable show.
Brilliant.
Weirdstable, that one is, because we
Yeah.
have so many weirdos live there. So we'd like to present you a bunch
yeah,
of
I've
those.
been to Istanbul. Yeah.
And thanks very much for doing it. Do tune in now and again.
I will.
We'll keep following you on Twitter and watching you on YouTube and watching what goes on. But good luck with the rest of the tour. Good luck with whatever you do, because you are a funny man.
Thank
and
you.
there is a shortage of funny men, although most of them are in government.
Yes.
Because they are like a bunch
Yeah.
of buffoons.
Yes.
It's
It'd be nice to have somebody competent one day, let's hope.
well, you never know.
BigBubble.uk. Real radio.